The money in your wallet is dying, and no one told you. Most people haven't noticed it happening. They still carry a bit of cash, more out of habit than necessity, maybe for emergencies or tips. But step by step, day by day, cash is disappearing from our economy. Not through law or political decree, but through a quiet shift in infrastructure and culture. Businesses slowly stopped accepting it. Apps made it easier to swipe, scan, and tap. And what once felt like a backup now feels like an inconvenience. Try using a $50 bill at a cafe or a gas station, and you'll see the confusion on the clerk's face. Not because it's illegal, but because it's no longer normal. What's replacing cash isn't just convenience. It's a different kind of money, digital, programmable, and connected to systems far beyond your control. Most of us grew up thinking of money as something we physically own. If it's in your pocket, it's yours. But when money becomes data, you don't own it in the same way. You access it, conditionally. It can be delayed, tracked, limited, or even denied. This isn't science fiction. It's already unfolding. The loss of physical money isn't just a financial change, it's a psychological one. Cash gave people a sense of finality, privacy, and independence. There was no middleman in a cash transaction. No algorithm logged it, no third party approved it, no digital history to be mined later. It was one of the last truly private acts in a public economy. And now, we're moving into a world where every transaction leaves a trace, and where the ability to participate depends not just on how much you have, but whether the system says you can use it. The death of the dollar in your wallet isn't loud. It doesn't come with headlines or breaking news. It comes with small, silent decisions. A vendor going card only, a paycheck going direct deposit only, a government pushing modernization. These steps look harmless, but taken together, they signal something larger. The slow erasure of your ability to hold value outside of permission-based systems. And once that ability is gone, getting it back won't be easy. The system replacing your cash is already being built, and it won't ask for your permission. While most people are still focused on traditional banking apps, credit cards, and tap-to-pay convenience, a quieter revolution is underway. Central banks around the world, including in the US, China, and the European Union, are actively developing what's known as central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. These aren't just digital versions of cash, they're programmable, government-issued currencies designed to eventually replace physical money entirely. And unlike cryptocurrencies, CBDCs are not decentralized. They're the exact opposite, fully centralized, fully trackable, and fully controllable by design. In China, the digital yuan has already been rolled out in dozens of cities. People can receive money directly from the government, but with conditions. Some of these digital funds come with expiration dates, forcing citizens to spend them within a certain time frame. Others can only be used at specific locations for approved items. The logic behind it sounds reasonable. Stimulate the economy, prevent hoarding, direct consumer behavior. But look closer, and something else emerges. A currency that doesn't just measure value, but controls behavior. This is the silent rise of a new monetary model. In the US, the Federal Reserve has been researching the digital dollar through projects like Project Hamilton, while the European Central Bank is already piloting its own version. None of these developments are being framed as urgent or radical. They're marketed as the next step, the future of efficiency, the modern solution to outdated systems. But what's being overlooked is the shift in power. With programmable currency, governments and institutions don't just issue money, they manage how and where it flows. The implications go far beyond finance. If money can expire, if it can be denied based on your location or profile, if it can be directed toward approved vendors, then it's no longer a neutral tool. It's a form of policy enforcement. embedded in your wallet. And once that system is in place, opting out won't be as easy as choosing not to upgrade your phone. You won't be forced to adopt it with fear. You'll be guided to it with convenience. And by the time people realize what they've agreed to, the old system may no longer exist. The more convenient your money becomes, the less control you have over it. Every major shift in modern finance has been sold under the same banner: speed, ease, and user experience. Swipe instead of sign, tap instead of type, auto debit instead of remembering. Your phone becomes your wallet, your ID, your bank. And it all feels seamless until you stop to ask, who benefits from that seamlessness? Because while the surface becomes smoother, the structure beneath it grows more rigid and more centralized. The truth is, we've been conditioned to equate convenience with progress, forgetting that every convenience has a cost. When you trade physical money for a digital interface, you're not just saving time, you're surrendering agency. You can't hold it, you can't hide it, you can't transact without leaving a trail. This may not matter when you're buying groceries, but it matters deeply when systems start deciding what you can or can't do with your own funds. It's not just about banking anymore. Think about what happened with social media. At first, it was a tool, a way to connect. Then it became an environment, algorithm-driven, monetized, addictively designed. And finally, it became a form of control, shaping narratives, silencing voices, manipulating reality. The financial system is moving in the same direction. What begins as convenience becomes environment. Then environment becomes dependency. And once you depend on it, whoever controls the system controls you. This isn't speculation. It's already in motion. Digital platforms increasingly decide what transactions are acceptable. Entire accounts can be frozen, not because of fraud, but because of political or behavioral flags. Crowdfunding sites, payment processors, and digital wallets have already demonstrated the ability and willingness to shut down users based on values, not violations. The more you rely on the system to function, the harder it is to resist. The more convenient it becomes, the less visible the trade-offs. By the time most people realize what they gave up, they'll already be inside a system that feels impossible to leave, not because there are bars on the door, but because there are no other doors left. Wealth used to mean freedom. Now it means visibility. There was a time when wealth could be private: a safe deposit box, a stash of cash, a piece of gold buried or stored, value you could access without explanation, without permission, without anyone watching. That era is ending. Today, almost every form of wealth is digitally recorded, tracked, and monitored. Bank accounts, investment portfolios, real estate deeds, even crypto wallets, all tied to names, devices, IDs, and centralized systems. If the system sees it, the system can regulate it. And increasingly, it does. The idea of anonymous wealth is no longer compatible with the direction of modern finance. Governments and institutions claim it's about stopping crime, preventing terrorism, eliminating tax evasion. But functionally, it expands surveillance over every citizen's financial behavior. When everything is digital, you leave a trail. And that trail isn't just historical. It's actionable. It can be flagged, rated, analyzed, and in some cases, shut off. Imagine this. You say something controversial online. You attend a protest. You donate to a cause that's on a watch list. Or maybe you simply live in a country undergoing political instability. Under a fully centralized digital system, you no longer need to break a law to lose access. You just need to be categorized. And once categorized, access to your own funds can be paused, delayed, or restricted, without recourse, and often without warning. We've already seen the early forms of this. In multiple countries, from Canada to China, people have had their accounts frozen for political reasons. not because they were criminals, but because they stepped outside the accepted lines. That's the danger of replacing anonymous cash with programmable currency. You can't hide, you can't opt out, you can't move value quietly. When wealth becomes fully visible, it also becomes conditional. You don't need to be rich for this to matter. You just need to care about being able to make decisions without a system's permission. The more we digitize value, the more fragile that autonomy becomes, and once privacy in finance disappears, it rarely comes back. Freedom isn't just about what you earn, it's about whether you're allowed to use it when and how you choose. And that right, once anonymous, once sacred, is slowly being rewritten. Crises don't change the system, they justify what was already planned. If history teaches us anything, it's that financial revolutions never happen in calm times. They follow collapse, they emerge from panic, and most importantly, they are introduced not as threats, but as solutions. After the 2008 financial crisis, we saw sweeping changes to how banks operate. After COVID-19, we saw unprecedented restrictions on physical movement, commerce, and cash handling, all in the name of safety. Each crisis didn't just alter behavior, it expanded the control mechanisms built into the system. The same will happen with the next crisis. Whether it's economic, geopolitical, or environmental, the response will be ready before the event even begins. Governments and central banks are already testing digital currencies and programmable money. They don't need to sell them to you now. They just need to wait for the right moment, the moment when fear outweighs resistance. Imagine this. A market crash wipes out millions of retirement accounts. Panic spreads. Banks tighten credit. Unemployment rises. In the midst of it, a bold new offer is made. A direct digital payment from the government. Fast, secure, universal. No bank needed. No paperwork. Just scan, approve, and receive. People won't ask where it came from. They'll ask how fast they can get it. And just like that, the infrastructure that was optional becomes essential. Physical cash becomes an inconvenience. Traditional bank accounts are too slow. Paper systems feel outdated. Digital currency becomes the only rational way forward because the crisis demands it. And with one event, the future accelerates. But what most won't see is that the system's features were always there. The expiration dates on money, the spending restrictions, the identity-based access controls. It was never about giving people more. It was about offering just enough in exchange for total visibility. Crises don't just push society forward, they push society toward the systems already waiting behind the curtain. And when fear is high, consent comes easy. When money becomes programmable, so do the people who use it. Most people still think of money as neutral, a tool you earn, save, and spend however you choose. But programmable currency changes that definition entirely. In a system where digital money can be coded, restricted, and monitored in real time, your freedom to spend becomes conditional, not based on how much you have, but on how you're allowed to use it. This isn't a futuristic scenario. It's already being tested. In China, pilot programs for their digital yuan have included time-limited funds, stimulus payments that expire if not used within a set period. The goal? To stimulate spending quickly. In theory, it sounds efficient. In practice, it changes how money works. Now imagine funds that can only be used at government-approved vendors, or for specific categories, groceries, but not travel, education, but not entertainment. The same infrastructure that delivers relief can just as easily enforce restriction. What we're witnessing is a shift from ownership to access. You won't own the money in your account. You'll be granted temporary purpose-driven access to it. Your ability to use it will depend on your profile, your behavior, your location, and eventually, your compliance. And the terrifying part? It will feel normal. Because it will happen slowly, wrapped in the language of safety, fairness, and public good. But behind that language lies a deeper transformation: economic behavior as code. If the system can reward certain habits and punish others through money itself, it becomes a tool of programming, not just payment. Spend more on fitness? Get a subsidy. Buy unhealthy food too often? Your wallet slows down. Support the wrong cause? Access denied. This is no longer finance, it's governance by currency. And the danger isn't just in how it works, but in how easy it is to accept. People will comply, not because they're forced, but because the alternative will quietly disappear. Cash won't be banned, it will be obsolete. Private transactions won't be criminal, they'll just be impossible. And when the very act of spending becomes a test of loyalty, privacy dies not with a scream, but with a signature on a new terms of service agreement. The safest system is also the easiest one to shut you out of. Supporters of digital currency often repeat the same promise. It's safer, it protects you from theft, from fraud, from loss. And on the surface, they're right. You can't drop a digital wallet on the street. No one can rob you at gunpoint for your Venmo account. But what if safety isn't the problem? What if the danger isn't someone stealing your money, but the system deciding when you can't use it? We've already seen how fragile that access can be. In countries like Nigeria, India, and even parts of Europe, people have had their accounts frozen, not because they broke a law, but because they violated a policy. In Canada, during the trucker protests, individuals who donated small amounts through crowdfunding platforms found their bank accounts locked. No trial, no process, just inaccessible. This is the reality of a fully digitized financial system. It's fast, it's clean, and it's conditional. Every transaction leaves a trail. Every account is linked to an identity. And with one algorithmic flag or administrative decision, your economic life can pause instantly. Think about that. You can be locked out of your funds for an error, a protest, a disagreement, or even a suspicious purchase pattern. There's no need for courts or explanations. The button is already built into the system. And once it's pushed, what do? There's no branch to walk into, no vault to break open, no cash in your drawer. There's just silence, and an app that says access denied. What's sold as protection is often control in disguise. Yes, cyber attacks and fraud are real risks, but so is centralization. So is blind trust in infrastructure that removes power from individuals and hands it to black box algorithms and distant institutions. We're not trading danger for safety. We're trading independence for dependency and calling it progress. The question isn't, is the system safe? It's safe for whom and under what conditions. Because if your access to value can be flipped off like a light switch, you don't own anything. You just rent certainty until it's taken away. In a world where money is code, real wealth is what can't be deleted. If the dollar is no longer solid and digital cash no longer neutral, then the question becomes urgent. What still holds value when systems fail, when accounts freeze, or when access requires approval? The answer isn't in your checking account or your retirement fund. It's in what no central bank, algorithm, or policy can touch: your skills, your assets, your community, and your ability to move with clarity in a world of confusion. Real wealth starts with liquidity, but not just financial. It's the liquidity of thought, adaptability, and network. A person who knows how to grow food, fix things, build a service, or lead others will never be truly poor, no matter what happens to the currency. A person with a strong circle of trust, a reputation of value, and the humility to pivot when needed will always have leverage. These aren't poetic ideas. They're survival tools in an economy that's becoming less personal and more programmable by the day. Then there's physical wealth, not flashy consumption, but tangible assets. Land, tools, stored energy, real supplies. And yes, maybe even old-school assets like gold or barter systems that still work when the apps go dark. When trust in fiat weakens, the market returns to what it can see and hold. It's not paranoia, it's pattern recognition. And finally, there's one form of wealth that systems fear most: the ability to say no, to step outside the offer, to delay convenience and ask, what does this cost me in control? When you cultivate discernment, you stop being a passive user and start being a conscious actor in a rigged game. This isn't a call to hide or panic, it's a call to wake up, because the rules are changing. And those who prepare early, think clearly, and invest in what can't be revoked will lead in the post-dollar world. Not because they have more money, but because they stopped believing money was the only thing that mattered. The future doesn't belong to those with the most digits. It belongs to those with the most clarity. And clarity, unlike currency, can't be frozen.